Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio, where we break down the best hair metal albums from the 80s and the 90s. So grab that volume knob, crank it up, and enjoy the show.
Showtime. Welcome to Violent Vinyl Radio. I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts. First up, the podcaster, holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2025.
Yeah, and last but not least, the podcaster who likes the dark side of the beat, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
Right, as always, the mission of this show is for us to introduce each other and you, the listeners, to albums and bands which you may have never heard before, while also discussing the classics. So sit back and enjoy the show. Dave, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find this amazing podcast?
Yes, please find us, like, subscribe, and rate. On Instagram, we are at VVR Podcast Insta. Podcast Insta, INSTA. And on Facebook, you can find us at Violent Vinyl Podcast. We are on all the podcast apps, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So check us out and leave us a good review.
There you go. Tonight, we will be discussing Extreme, the debut studio album by Extreme, produced by Mac and Extreme. That's a lot of extremes. Released on March 14th of 1989 on A&M Records. The album peaked at the number 80 spot on the Billboard 200. So there you go. The lineup.
The album didn't come out on Extreme Records?
It should have. That would have been extreme. The band's lineup was as follows. Pat Badger on bass and backing vocals. Nuno Betancourt on guitars, synthesizer, piano, backing vocals, percussion, orchestration, and mixing. Gary Cherone, lead and backing vocals, design, and logo. And Paul Geary on drums, percussion, backing vocals, and logo design. I think Paul Geary made a huge mistake when he picked Godsmack over the Boston Brats when he had the choice. A lot of people would probably disagree with that statement.
I've never seen a band lineup having the logo design as one of the features for the guys. Have you?
I think we did it once before.
Really?
I seem to remember.
Seems weird.
I remember saying that one time before. Dave, do you remember what album it was?
I don't remember. Was it Skid Row?
I don't think
remember.
so.
I don't remember. Maybe, yeah, I can't remember. But somebody tried to take credit in their liner notes.
Weird.
It is a little weird. Let's do some quick facts on this album. I usually don't have any, but I have one. It might be more of a rumor than a fact. But I think one of my friends from the Malden area told me that Gary Cherone was his gym teacher at Malden High. I could be wrong, but I seem to remember that being the rumor. So there you go.
I can actually tag up on that.
Oh, okay.
I read during my research that Gary Cherone's mom was actually a gym teacher in a Malden school.
Okay.
And sometimes he would come in, I guess, to substitute for her.
Okay, I think that's the story I heard too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I read it somewhere. I forget exactly which site that was on, but it's possibly true.
No, it's true. I knew someone that actually went to that high school and told me stories of him coming in and all the girls being like, "Ooh." So there you go. and I don't know, it sounds like it might have been inspiration for this entire album. So really deep, dark meanings on this thing. Dave, why don't you give us some facts on this one?
Okay, yeah. He must have shaved off the gym teacher mustache before, he got famous with the band.
Nice. Semi-pro.
Yeah. Okay, vocalist Gary Cherone and drummer Paul Geary were in a band together called Adrenaline in 1979.
It's almost extreme.
Then they were also members of a band called The Dream in 1980. Mm-hmm. CBS Television bought the rights to that name for a short-lived television series called Dreams. So eventually they had to rename the band. The band The Dream appeared in a music video on an early MTV program, Basement Tapes, a show in which the viewing audience voted via a toll-free telephone number for one of two competing amateur music videos submitted by unsigned artists. I guess that was a precursor to Dial MTV.
Yes.
The Dreams video for Mother Don't Want to Go to School Today won the contest, beating a then unknown Henry Lee Sumner by just 1% of the total vote.
And that
I believe he's
video,
from Canada.
That video filmed at Malden High School.
There you go. I think we've solved the riddle of whether he was actually a substitute gym teacher at Malden High School. There you go.
So yeah, we got some more information about that coming up later. But the TV show Dreams aired on CBS from October 3rd to October 31st, 1984.
Ouch.
Short run. It follows the story of a fictional rock band that tries to get a recording contract starring John Stamos and Jamie Gertz.
I'd have
Love
watched
John
that, really?
Stamos.
Yeah.
I didn't have time, but I really wanted to look and see if any of that was up on YouTube. We have to. We gotta go do our homework and take a look at that later.
My yaya would always say, "You look so much like that John Stamos." Yeah, so
You totally do.
so funny. Oh god.
Inspired by the growing popularity of music videos in the early 80s, the show incorporated music video aesthetics in each episode, with executive producer John Peters previously having produced Flashdance. However, the show was negatively reviewed by critics and was canceled after 5 episodes. John Stamos and Jamie Gertz would go on to success in later work, Full House and Lost Boys. And one song performed in the show alone would become a #1 hit in 1987 for rock group Heart. The song was composed by Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, who recorded it under the name I-10 on their 1983 album Taking a Cold Look.
I just watched that video the other day. It's a very good video and a very good song.
Nice. Yeah, great song.
Yeah.
Guitarist Nuno Bettencourt was in a band called Sinful.
Ooh.
And bassist Pat Badger was playing with a Berkeley College-based band. Nuno joined Gary and Paul in a new group in 1985, followed by Pat Badger in 86. The four chose the name Extreme as it sounded like X Dream, a reference to the old band, The Dream. Gary and Nuno crossed paths numerous times before working together, as Gary's brother Mark and Nuno's brother Paulo were in, or Paulo, I'm not sure what's the proper pronunciation, were in a well-known Boston local band together called Flesh.
I like Flesh.
Extreme performed continuously since 1985 in the New England area. They grew a large regional following. It was named Outstanding Hard Rock / Heavy Metal Act at the Boston Music Awards in 1986 and 1987. One last one here. Extreme are huge fans of the band Queen, which affected their decision of working with German producer / engineer Mack for this album, who had previously worked with Queen. They also performed a great Queen medley at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in London in April of 1992.
It's too bad none of that inspiration rubbed off on this album. Have you guys ever seen Flesh?
I haven't.
I feel like I remember the name,
man.
but I don't.
I
have any
used- I
I
memories.
definitely know the name.
I used to see them play at celebrations in Narcissus all the time. And
Narcissus, that's probably where I saw them.
yeah, and then there was another band that also was, I believe, little brothers of these guys that was called Pieces. They were a 3-piece band, and they were really cool. Like, I used to see them downstairs at celebrations. The drummer would set his drum set up sideways so, like, you could see them. They were just fucking cool. And I don't remember if it was Flesh or Pieces. It was one of the two bands would play a cartoon before they would go on stage that they had made for their band. It was pretty cool. So, yeah, fun stuff from Boston days past. Lisa, what do you got on this band?
Not too much. I want to talk about the individual guys, but before we go there, the Boston scene back in the mid 80s was a really different scene from the LA scene of the time, right? So in LA, we had the Sunset Strip and all the glam guys and a really wild scene. In Boston, it was rougher. It was more, there was a lot more hardcore bands, a lot more metal bands, a lot less glam. And I think glam was almost almost shunned on the Boston scene for a little while, at least until the later 80s for sure. So this would have been a harder scene, I think, for them to come through. There was literally hundreds of clubs that you could go to on any given night between Boston and Rhode Island and, Providence and all of this. And it was hard to draw a crowd here compared to Sunset Strip, I think.
But actually, it's not 100% true. So when I first started going out on the Boston club scene, probably about 1987, I had a fake ID. It was my buddy Lee's. They were a little older, my metalhead buddies. One of them had one of those custom vans with a little round window, like in the bed in the back and shit. Like,
yeah.
so fucking like Chips. And we would go to Narcissus on Heavy Metal Wednesday. And it was all glam.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, you got to remember, it was like the Royal Pimps with Rafe. And I mean, In the Pink. And like, it was like, you go into Narcissus and it was like everybody had the huge hair. The guys were all in the spandex. Everybody was wearing the makeup. So it really was a pretty glam scene in the beginning. But then it kind of toughened up a little bit going into the 90s. And Boston really ditched the whole hair metal thing way before everybody else. 'Cause
Really
I
did,
remember
yeah.
going to one of the last hair metal nights at Narcissus before they canned it with my buddy Jim, Pink, CC. Both of us, colored hair out to the moon, full drag makeup basically. And I
Yep.
remember these wannabe Alice in Chains guys like trying to throw gum in our hair and fucking with us, but they didn't realize that like we were fucking crack smoking mental cases, and we were like more than happy to beat the bag out of them. So there you go. I had to interject. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you mean about the Narcissus scene. I think that was a very specific scene in Boston.
It really was. It
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And I used to go there too. It was great, but I feel like there was a much bigger abundance of what you would just call rock and roll rather
Yeah,
than
the Channel, the
glam.
Rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it was a different kind of scene from LA. Despite this, they were able to get a pretty big fan base, I would say, a pretty loyal fan base for a band, and that was hard to do around here. They won what did you say, the Boston Music Awards in '86 and '87.
Yes.
They tied with Gangrene for Heavy Metal Hardcore Act. Heavy Metal Hardcore Act, right? Like what? Yeah.
Gangrene and Extreme,
Gangrene.
huh?
Remember them? Yeah.
Seems
So,
like different genres.
Yeah, it was a very strange scene back then. I feel like it was not like LA. It was not like anywhere else. A&M made a really weird decision on this album, I think. So A&M put Extreme with Mac, German guy, right? His credits are strange to me, right? T-Rex, Electric Light Orchestra, Queen, Scorpions, Rolling Stones, right? Earlier rock and roll.
Sounds
That is
good.
Well, I think
Good stuff.
for '89 though, do you think that was the right producer for this album?
No.
Right? I feel like that was the number one mistake here, right? Was
I think they just wanted the name because he worked
Maybe.
with Queen.
maybe, yeah, and they were big Queen fans, but maybe that was the mistake here, right? They needed a glam producer.
They did.
Yeah. Okay. So the album itself received a pretty lukewarm response, right? Like, they were pretty lucky that the label stayed with them for another album. I think a lot of bands got left behind after that first album. And was it luck that they just got kept on and got to do a second album? Like, I'm not sure.
I think it was getting that break of having their song on the
Bill
on
and
the
Ted's.
Bill and Ted
Yeah.
thing. I think that bought them one more album, but it didn't matter.
Yeah. And I mean, their next album came out really fast, right? It came out in 1990, so barely a year and a few later. And they really pulled out all the stops for that album. Let's be fair. You can't talk about Extreme without talking about More Than Words, right? Which is on the next album, one of the most overplayed power ballads. Actually, a power ballad that I will turn off if it's on the radio because it's too much for me. I've just heard it too much.
It blew them up everywhere.
It
though.
blew them up everywhere. When they play live now, Gary doesn't even sing the song. He lets the audience sing the song to him because everybody knows all the words, and I didn't like that. That bothered me. I didn't come to hear, Sarah next to me, soccer mom, like screaming the lyrics at him. I came to hear him sing that song and Nuno together, right? Like,
Yep.
I don't know. That grinds my gears a little bit with this. And after that song, where do you go? Where do you go after a super song like that? Maybe that kind of killed their career. Also, kind of a stigma where there was nothing left for them after that. I don't know. We can talk about that later.
Well,
but
the story has that they were overseas when that dropped, and the album wasn't doing great. And then all of a sudden, they got a call, and they're like, "You guys are like number one."
Yeah.
Like, get this song, and they were like, "Oh, really?" And they came back home, way bigger than when they
Superstars.
left. Yeah.
yeah, superstars. Okay, so Gary, born in Malden, Massachusetts. We've talked about Malden High School a few times. Yeah,
I used to live in Malden.
yeah.
Nice.
The last time I saw Extreme Play live was at Mix 360 in Malden, Mass. So it would have been his hometown. That would have been, geez, I want to say it was 2017, I think, was the last time I saw them live. Yeah. So in April 1992, he performed Hammer to Fall on stage with the 3 surviving members of Queen. Now, that had to be an honor, right?
Yeah.
And the rest of Extreme, of course, played kind of a half set of just Queen songs in that show.
Yeah, they did the Queen medley. I think they did More Than Words.
Yeah, so that's pretty amazing, and I get it that they have an attachment to this band and all that, but yeah, I think it might be a little bit much to me. You can't talk about Gary without the fact that he obviously was a singer in Van Halen. Controversial choice, right?
Yeah.
So full disclosure, my only love for Van Halen is with Diamond Dave. For me, there is nobody else.
Me too.
I believe that Hagar was a terrible choice. It's a controversial.
Let me just say, so
Go ahead.
I feel like if Van Halen had just like said, Van Halen's dead, and this is now, the band is now called like 5150. This is the new
Yes.
band, and
Right.
Sammy Hagar's the singer, and this isn't Van Halen. I'm great. I love it. I'm
Yeah,
fine
I
with
am
it.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it
so
wasn't
call it
Van Halen.
Call it
Yeah.
Van Halen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So nobody's holding up against Diamond Dave to me. I could give a crap less about Sammy Hagar, but I have a really weird opinion about Gary Cherone. I don't think it was a terrible choice, right? Because anybody put into that seat would have been
Doomed to fail.
doomed to fail. Like, who would you possibly put there that would have been, that would have been able to go up against Diamond Dave? There's no one you could have put there, right?
Robert Plant?
I don't know. I don't even think so.
No way.
No, it wouldn't have worked.
I don't know.
So anyway, they released an album in 1998, Van Halen 3. This was the Gary Cherone album, right?
Woof.
Yeah, it did really, really poorly from a Van Halen world perspective, right? Every previous Van Halen album had basically gone double platinum. This one barely made gold, barely made gold. To me, I think it's better than the Hagar albums, but most people don't. You guys don't, obviously. But he was in an impossible position, right? He knew that the fans of Van Halen, the diehard fans, were going to tear him apart. They were going to judge him, no matter how good he did, no matter how bad he did, no matter what he did. They were going to judge him and tear him apart. That had to be the most stressful job to take.
It was probably the biggest check he ever cashed in his life. It was
Yeah, but-
worth it.
You get to be the singer for Van Halen.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Just trash me and I'll laugh all the way to the bank.
Yeah. The good thing about Cherone joining is that I read that Van Halen was finally able to play some of the songs, the earlier Diamond Dave songs, with Gary because Hagar wasn't able to perform those songs. He couldn't do the vocal range.
He didn't want to.
Yeah.
He
So-
didn't like doing any David Lee Roth stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably a good thing for Van Halen fans is they got to hear the old stuff live again. I don't know. I like that. So there was another album that was supposed to be coming. It was going to be called Love Again. It was buried, I guess. The studio didn't hear a pop hit on the album, I guess. So it was basically buried. I have an opinion that I think that album may have been really good. I read at how hard Gary worked on the album and how hard the guys worked on the album. And I think musically that might have been a good way to continue forward. I don't think they should have buried that album. I would love someday for someone to come out with some of the songs that were on there. it exists somewhere. A lot of it was recorded. There's actually, you can find online some song lists of songs that were on the album. I would really like to hear it. Supposedly Gary sung, the quote is, Gary sung his ass off for the album. I think maybe that would have made a difference for some of the fans. After he left Van Halen, he put together Tribe of Judah, played some shows around Boston, released a CD. After the Station nightclub fire, if anyone doesn't know what that is, the Station nightclub fire burnt down in February of 2003 and killed, I believe it was 100 people died in the club that night.
Tragic.
West Warwick,
Yeah.
Rhode Island.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Great White was playing, and their pyro, basically burned the club to the ground in minutes. So a week after that, Gary and his brother Marcus performed More Than Words during a memorial service for the victims. I have a personal connection to that tragedy, lost some friends there. It was a gorgeous tribute. I just wanted to mention that he did that.
Nice.
He still does some tributes. They still play locally every once in a while, but this is a band that I haven't seen play a show in a while.
I think Gary's doing or he was doing some shows with a Who tribute recently. I saw them advertised somewhere around very recently, like
Yeah.
in the last month or two.
They dropped a couple of new songs and videos I saw recently, Extreme with Nuno and Gary. And
Yeah, they put out a new album. They were on tour a couple months ago.
Okay, moving on to Nuno. Nuno Bettencourt, one of my favorite guitarists. Great social media presence still to this day, loves to talk about his craft. I could listen to him talk about guitars forever, and I could care less about guitars. Yeah, you did.
That's what all the girls say.
You did mention that he had a hair metal act in 1985. There are demos available. Sinful was the name of the band. There are demos and videos available of this band playing, and photos with the weirdest shaped hair I have ever seen in my life. So if you haven't gone to look, you have to go look up the hair. It is bizarre. They all have fringe like bangs and this round hairdo. It is bizarre. But the
sounds
music was okay.
horrifying.
Yeah, but the music was okay. So something I have to say about Nuno, he's a fantastic guitarist, but I feel like his connection with Extreme and the work that he did with Extreme kind of stifled him a little bit. I don't know how you feel about that.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Before I did the research for this album, my thought about him was, wow, why hasn't he done more? Like, why don't I hear about him as much as I hear about Slash or Steve Vai
Because
or
his
some of the
solos
others?
don't add anything to songs. Like
don't
Warren
think that.
Martini. His
He's
solos
guested
are-
on tons of
Okay,
albums.
so
He's
here's-
gone on
yeah.
tour. He tours with Rihanna.
So I know. So
And
here comes the rest of the
He's
research.
put out solo albums. He's got other bands.
But why didn't I know any of that before this research? Like
I
he played with
don't know.
Janet Jackson, okay,
On one song.
one song in 1990. But I didn't know that, right? How did I not know that? He played with Dweezil
knew that.
Zappa. I mean, I knew who he was married to, right? He back in the day, right? He was married to the girl from the singer.
Baby Animals, Susie DeMarchi.
Baby Animals,
Yes.
yeah. And they did a lot of work together. Okay?
How do I know all this?
Yeah. How do you know all this?
Because you're the guitar nerd.
Right.
Yep.
But the thing I didn't know is that he's Rihanna's guitarist. I did not know that he was Rihanna. How did I not know that he was Rihanna's guitarist? As much as I watch this guy on social media, how did I not know this? That's a huge career right there, all by itself, with nothing else,
Sure.
right? Okay. Another thing about Nuno, he has a fantastic voice. Kind of rare in a guitarist to have a lead singer's voice.
Not on
Do you
this
think?
album.
Pretty much
Not on
him and
this album.
Sambora. That's it.
Him and Sambora. Yeah. He did a great harmony work. I think he did great harmony work with Gary Sharon on the next album.
Yeah,
Maybe
not on
some-
this one. There's
No.
some fucking problems on this album.
Yeah, totally. But on the next album, you definitely got to see the harmony between
Yes.
them. I think that was
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I still maintain that Nuno needed a bigger platform back in the day and now. He didn't put out his solo album until 1997, right? Schizophrenic is the name of the album.
I believe it's Schizophonic.
Schizophrenic, sorry. Schizophrenic. Maybe I'm the one with the problem. But I feel like in releasing the album in 97, for me, that was too late. So go back to the 80s when, he was in Sinful and all of that. You had Satriani, you had Yngwie, you had Vi doing all their solo albums. That was the time that he should have been putting out his solo album also.
Yep.
He was trying to be in a band.
But maybe that was the problem.
He wasn't trying to be like
But-
a guitar nerd.
No, but but that is the problem, is that he was playing on an Extreme album like it was the Nuno Betancourt solo album, and his
Right.
solos didn't match any of the fucking songs. It was
Right.
like, look what I can do.
And I was like, wow, what a great guitarist. It doesn't fit at all here.
It does. It just
Yeah.
I don't agree.
it does
God.
not work on this album. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, so he had another band, Mourning Widows, which is a pretty cool name. I think he saw it on the wall of a Portuguese church, Mourning Widows. They have a self-titled debut album in 1997, released in Japan, that sold 45,000 copies in its first month.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the lead guitarist of Satellite Party. Jane's Addiction, right? Here's our Jane's Addiction connection. Perry Farrell. He played at 2005 Lollapalooza with them. Helped produce their album. He's worked on movies and worked with one of my favorites, Steel Panther. He did a song called "It Won't Suck Itself,"
Nice.
which also featured Nickelback frontman Chad Kroeger. Ew.
Nickelback.
Not a big fan. Not a big fan. Not a
Yeah,
big fan.
I do love Steel Panther, so that was a nice
Big fan.
connection for me. He in April 2022, he joined Julian Lennon on an acoustic cover of Julian's father's, John Lennon's hit "Imagine" to benefit Global Citizens Stand Up for Ukraine. So good
Nice.
politics for him, unlike his lead singer. He founded a media production company called Atlantic Entertainment, which he is the CEO. And he has some really strange endorsements. I don't know if you know about any of these. One of the biggest ones is with CoverGirl Makeup. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. He has a fashion line called Nuno Betancourt's Seduction, a top-selling perfume, With Love from Nuno,
Yeah, he's no Johnny Depp with a fucking
Yeah.
wolf.
and
Sausage cologne.
yeah,
Oh,
and
shit, I love that.
a chain of restaurants called Fat Betancourt Burger.
Oh, stop it.
Yep.
You're making
I
that up.
am
Is it-
serious.
Is it next to Wahlburgers?
I don't know.
Listen, I live in Boston and I've never heard of it, so it cannot be doing well.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't think it's out here. I think it was West Coast.
That's a bad choice in itself
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to look at some of the gear that he played. Like, did he have, guitar stuff or amp, things?
Yes, he had a Washburn signature, most famously a Washburn signature guitar. It's like the plain wood.
Yes, and from
And
what
two,
I
and
understand, he is the only musician that they still make a signature guitar for. Nuno Betancourt. They don't make
Washburn?
Yes, they don't make it for any other musician now. He's the only one that they're making a signature guitar for.
So I read a quote for him.
And he's also got a signature Randall amp.
Yes, he does, Randall.
Interesting.
Fucking Randall.
Because
Don't touch the Randalls.
when I was looking through all that stuff, trying to find out who sponsored him or anything like that, I didn't find a lot. And I found an article where he basically made this statement. He says, I don't put too much emphasis on pedals and amps. What truly counts are the hours I put into my craft expressed through my hands. I think you tell the story of who you are. It's your DNA. An amp matters for sure, but pretty much you should be able to plug into just about anything and still be you.
But
I
he
think that's
plugged
why I
into
don't use anything
everything.
in front of it.
He plugged into everything on this album.
maybe.
Everything.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
So anyway, Nuno, too big for this band, I think, just not the right platform. So that's my statement on him.
I think the band is mostly him. Just him and Gary,
Yeah.
like being the creative, force behind.
I think he
behind
was
this whole
stifled. I think he got stifled in this whole situation. So
thing. I don't think
Didn't
so.
sound stifled. Sounded encouraged
right.
improperly.
So Pat Badger, another Boston-born guy, sung backup vocals on Dweezil Zappa's album, sung backup on a Van Halen song, When It's Love, and on Sammy Hagar's live album, Live Hallelujah, which Sharon also sang co-lead vocals on. An interesting thing I found about Pat Badger, he in 2013, he initiated, I don't know if you guys heard of any of this. Do you know what a Pledge Music campaign is?
No.
Okay, so back in the day, this was a thing, and
Tell us about it.
okay, so Kickstarter.
Yes.
Okay. So
I've heard of it.
Okay, so what he did in 2013 was basically he wanted to record his first solo album, and he put kind of a request out, hey, do you want to pay for my album? I'll involve you in the process of creating my album, right? So he did a Kickstarter, he made all this money, and he basically took the fans through the production of his album. And back in the day, the thought was that this was going to be the way that bands were going to be creating music from now on. They weren't going to like go deep in a studio where nobody knows what they're doing and it's black box to the fans. What was going to happen was it was going to be like broadcast online and this, the live stream the sessions and, feedback from the fans and back and forth while the album gets created.
Hang out in the studio.
Hang out in the studio, like pretend you're in, like it's almost like you're in the band, and it was like a whole process. He actually did 2 albums like that.
Wow.
And there was a lot of buzz at the time that this was the new way of making music. I don't think that happened because I haven't heard of anyone else going through that process at all. But I found it really, really fascinating. I
I'm
think
sure the labels cut that off at the fucking knees.
maybe, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was really interactive, and maybe there was a lot of like redos as they got feedback from people. I don't know, but yeah. He also is the archivist of Extreme. Apparently, during the early years of Extreme, he was the one carrying a camcorder through all of their shows. So he has like tens of thousands of these VCR videotapes that he's digitizing, and he releases them online once in a while just to show like the behind the scenes stuff back from, even before the album came out and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Not all bands did that. So they have a lot of footage, of them back in the day.
Or they can't show the footage because it's just booze and cocaine and hookers.
Maybe, yeah. He also performed in Tribe of Judah with Gary Sharon. He now has a band called Dark Desert Eagles, which is a tribute band to the Eagles, formed in 2017. With Extreme drummer Kevin Figueiredo. Figueiredo, not in the album we're doing, but a future.
Right. He's currently the drummer of Extreme. He came in after Paul Geary left.
Yeah, he's a friend of the show. So
Nice. Great guy.
For a long time, he lived in Groveland, Mass., which is not too far from here. He ran an alpaca farm called North Shore Alpacas, which apparently seems to be no longer in business, sadly, but he used to raise them for fibers and brought lots of tour groups and kids to learn about the farming process. So I did visit there back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you buy an alpaca sweater?
I did not. He actually would send the fibers out to companies in Connecticut to make the stuff. So.
Do you have any other fun facts on whatever that little creature is? What is it? What the hell is it? I don't even know
An
what
alpaca,
it is.
it's like a llama.
A llama?
It's like a fuzzy llama.
And they're native to Massachusetts, to Malden?
Well, there's a lot of farms around here, and there's a lot of farms in Vermont, especially with alpacas. Yeah, they're local.
Alpacas. Holy
Yeah.
shit. All right, there's something else for me to look for. An alpaca.
Okay, Paul Geary, Medford, Massachusetts again. So a lot of local boys here.
Next town over from Malden.
Yeah.
Yes.
The interesting thing about Paul Geary is even back in the day, I don't find a lot about him for music. You find a lot about him for management, right? Obviously, as Des mentioned, one of the first bands that he signed was Godsmack, which turned out to be a pretty big success. Also local boys here.
Yuck.
Yeah, well,
We won't talk about that.
I like them. So, yeah. So no
Terrible.
shade from me. He also managed bands like Smashing Pumpkins, Alter Bridge, obviously Godsmack, Creed, Scorpions, Fuel, Steel Panther, hello, Jason Bonham, Billy Ray Cyrus, Hoobastank, Joe Perry, and his former band Extreme.
Interesting.
They also signed on recently to manage Hollywood Vampires, which of course is Joe Perry, Johnny Depp, Alice Cooper. Yeah, and that's about all I found on him. So
Yeah, he's like a high power manager.
he's a big music business guy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, fucking Godsmack, just lucky enough to open for my band. I'm like, these little punks opening for me. We're like Aerosmith. Wait till they see us. They never saw us. Never saw us. Okay, great, good stuff, guys. You brought it tonight. Extreme, right? You guys still brought it, so kudos to you. That's commitment. That's commitment, everybody. All right, let's do some quick opening thoughts on this album, and then we will get into it. So even though Extreme was a local Boston band, I was never a big fan of this band. This is not my flavor of hair metal, if you will. But I have listened to the album all the way through a couple of times over the years. Unfortunately for this album, I had just listening to Spreading the Disease by Queensryche right before starting my review of this album. So the lovely flavors of Queensryche Spreading the Disease really sort of soured the vanilla taste of this album for me. Dave, have you ever listened to this album all the way through before preparing for the podcast?
I sure have.
Okay.
At the time it was new, I wanted it, but I couldn't find it. I didn't hear it until after they got big with their second album. Then they were kind of everywhere. In New Jersey at the time, we didn't know anything about these guys. From what I hear over the years, they were pretty well known in the Boston area. Everybody I meet here has an Extreme story, has seen them at the Channel or Narcissus, or somehow is Nuno's cousin.
Right.
Even today, they host a yearly concert in Massachusetts around Thanksgiving for friends and family that sells out very, very fast.
I have a funny Nuno story, but I won't tell it because I'm sure it would insult a couple of people, but it was pretty funny. I was being a little punk and he was being an uptight rock star guy. And things just, so whatever. It's no big deal. It was not that big a deal. Lisa, big fan of the album? Listened to it lots and lots of times?
Well, before this podcast, I would have told you, yes, I am. I listen to that all the time. I wore that album out. I do have burned in my memory the cover of that album, which has the Extreme logo and the guys kind of in not super glam outfits, right? It's a little bit of big hair, but like it looks like a photo that's from years before. Like I feel like it's a photo from 84, 85, not from 89. Does that make sense?
Yeah, reminds me of a bunch of guys from Malden in stonewashed
It
jeans
does.
and like their mom's
Yeah.
scarf.
Yeah, but that image was burned in my brain, and I really had this memories of kind of like blasting that album, and I loved the Bill and Ted's obviously Chase. That was a big thing in my head. But I gotta be honest. I feel like I've been dropped into a parallel universe where this album has been completely replaced with something I don't remember at all.
100% the
yeah.
same for me. This is not what I remembered.
It's not what I remember. At the time, I was really big into like Yngwie and Satriani, and I remember being like, wow, this Nuno guy, he's freaking amazing. This is great. But I feel like my memory of this is completely corrupted. This is not the album that I remember. After the re-listen, I almost wonder if I listened to it at all. So...
Word. I apologize for all the cutting in I'm doing today, but I am very excited and passionate about this hatchet job that we are about to execute. Okay. So, man, I almost want to skip this, but let's rate the singer. As always, it's 1 through 100, 25 on hair, 25 on style, and 50 on vocals and talent. Okay, something like that. Those are basically the rules. I will go first. If this was the movie Weird Science and I was Wyatt and Gary making the perfect hair metal front guy, Harry Sharon would not be that guy. His hair for me scores a 4.9. His clothes score a 4.9. And his stage presence scores a 41.9. So for me, he scores a 51.7. And honestly, that's too high because that's better than average. He scores a 43.7. 43.7. That's my score. Put it down. Mark it. Dave, what do you think?
Well, Gary is not your average 80s metal singer. I feel like there's more going on with him that he does not necessarily share with the world. I've never gotten a chance to meet him, so I've no idea what his deal is, but his hair was fine, big bunch of hair, it was curly, so curly and big, we'll give him 16 on that.
And brown.
Stage presence was good. He seemed to always be moving and dancing around. He was definitely not a guy to stand still on stage. Yeah, shimmying it. Style I'm not too sure about. There were, especially back at this time, lots of headbands and short pants. He's wearing like capri pants. We're going 12 there. 40 on vocal talent. I think he's an excellent singer. However, in some of these old live videos that I'm seeing, all that running around made him out of breath and kind of negatively affected his singing. Plus, he ruined that Van Halen album. So
Yeah.
I'm giving Gary a 68.
68. I thought his vocals, spoiler alert, were very weak on this album. Lisa, what do you think about this guy?
Well, I can tell you that there is something going on with Gary under the covers that he doesn't show to the world. When you're ugly on the inside, it makes you ugly on the outside.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's not my cup of tea.
What's that about?
He's from Boston. He looks like he's from Boston. I don't like that look. I'm from Boston. I don't like the look of being from Boston. I feel like even the whole band had that same look at the time. They didn't have a real cohesive style. Even Nuno hadn't found his style yet. They didn't have the hair right. None of them did. You did mention, Des, that, or was it Dave, that he did move around on stage. So when you watch the shows, even for all the band, they're very active. There's always some movement going on, jumping around something. That was good, but not really grabbing my attention. I'm not focused on him. For hair. I liked the hair in the More Than Words video in the next album when he tied it back and had the long hair down the back. It was a little bit gothy, like dark looking. I did not like the hair on this album. So that's the difference there. The vocals, oh God. It's funny because there's two extremes with him. Extreme. Here we go. That was not intended to say that, but
Sure it was.
Yeah, like there are times when he can hit a really nice, high, clear, sustained note, and he holds it, and he's got that nice '80s kind of high pitched screech, and it's good. But then you slow it down, and his voice is shaky and like unbalanced. I don't even know how to express it, but it was like it cringed. It like hurt my ears at times. I was kind of like, ugh, that's just not good. The only really good thing about him, like I said, is that he does move around, and the whole band, not just him. So I'm going to give him a total score, and this is funny because it was your original score, 51.
I couldn't go that high. Nice. Yeah, these vocals are fucking wonky as fuck.
Something is not right with it. Yeah.
Something's not right with it. And when him and fucking Nuno sing together, it's just not working.
Yeah.
Those harmonies are off. Okay,
How
Lisa.
much of that, though, answer me this, how much of that is production, though? Because if within a year, they did exponentially better with what couldn't have been a big improvement in talent, right? How much of that was production?
I have to think that you hit the nail on the head that they just picked the wrong guy for this because they were like, this is a guy from the 70s that was like not using a lot of effects. And they said, hey, use everything. And he's like, I don't know how. They're like, well, just turn it all on to 11 and there you go. That's a metal album. No, it's not.
And maybe they took a lot, like in the 70s, on a lot of those albums, they left the mistakes in sometimes out of like creativity and like that. And I feel like they did that a lot on this album when that was not the right thing to do for this style of music.
But the problem is they went over the top in some of these big choruses and big gang vocal sections. But then when they would sing intimately during the verses and try and harmonize, they were letting the mistakes through. And it just sounded fucking whack.
Bad.
Oh, shit. Okay, so add it up. Tell us where Gary is.
On our Violent Vinyl Frontman leaderboard. Ugh, Gary Cherone. I'm sorry, Gary. You are a number 10 with a total score of 54.23. That puts you just below David Coverdale and just above Dave King from Fastway.
Yeah, I mean, he's better than Dave King from Fastway.
Yeah, I agree, yes.
But I will say that Fastway album fucking punches this thing in the dick like 10 times a day, okay? At least there's some killer words on that fucking Fastway Trick or Treat album. These words are just like, like I gave like a little kid a crayon and was like, here, write a bunch of lyrics for an album. He was like, oh, school was good, and I like little girls. And it was just like, what? You have any life experience? Has anything happened to you? Or do you just go to school all day and watch cartoons? I don't know. Okay. Well, you can see where this is going to go. Let's get into it. Tracks and thoughts. I will get us started with track 1, which is titled Little Girls, coincidentally enough. Right off the bat, I couldn't hate the song title anymore. As far as the track, I kind of like this little bluesy intro with the killer harp, and I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of remember this album. It's a good album, right? Then the song breaks in, and I remember this album having great production, but I noticed immediately that there was way too much reverb on everything, and honestly, it made the whole thing just sound hollow and difficult to make out the details, especially on the guitar tracks. Like, I remember Nuno having a great guitar sound. Not on this album. This guitar sound is it's pitiful. The vocals and lyrics, completely forgettable. I mean, forgettable. The bass, super busy, super Berkeley. Drums, they're in the pocket. This guy's not playing great. He's not playing bad. He's just doing his job. And honestly, it's probably one of my favorite parts of the album because they didn't have to think about it. Overall, I do not love this track. Dave.
A little blues harp to begin the song, credited on the album sleeve to Raphael Hercules of Love May. I don't know who that is. I tried looking him up and couldn't find nothing. Unless it's a fake name from somebody. Hoo boy, the lyrics on this one have not aged well. This is a guy in his late 20s singing about 16-year-olds. Christine 16 indeed. Times have changed. But you could still get away with this back in 1989. Did they still do this one in concert? Song feels a little like they're grabbing onto that 80s metal fake blues man vibe that Rat and Motley Crue were into. I'm a little surprised Nuno didn't put any slide guitar on this. As always with these guys, great background vocals. The guitar playing is great and has that distinctive, extreme, funky metal feel. Kind of a weird choice for an opening song, though.
Yeah, but Dave, here's the problem. You can't put this little intro on an album like Motley Crue and all those guys did it, but then they continued to try to bullshit it for the rest of the album so it fit. They put this thing on and then they're like, and here's a fucking Berkeley class. It's
And
like,
then
what?
dropped it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they dropped it. And you were talking about the 16-year-old girl thing. Well, if you listen to the song, Gary explains that it only matters how old you feel. So if you feel like 14, then you can meet like a 14-year-old girl at Target. Like, no, that's called assault, brother. You go to jail for shit like that. Lisa, what did you think of the track?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I read the title and I went, I don't remember this at all. I don't remember this song. I don't remember the name of this song. What is happening here? So, okay, I say, fine, I'll take a listen. Harmonica comes in. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of good. I almost felt like, is this going to sound like Aerosmith or something like that? I was like ready for kind of a bluesy song. And then the guitars break in, which was kind of nice. And then Gary's voice comes in with these awful lyrics. And I don't like the tone of his voice on this. But when the lyrics came in, I can't. Not only is it underage girls, it's incest. It's well underage girls, like well under 16. I can't get past the lyrics here. Gary was 28 when this came out. Nuno was 23. Way too old to be talking about girls that young. Holy hell, how was this okay? I'm having a hard time focusing on the music at this point. I'm getting angry. I can already hear how good Nuno is. The guitar solo on this is not my favorite on the album. It's okay. He's better than this, though. Bluesy thing is like kind of okay. The rest of the lyrics, I'm like, I almost couldn't like listen to the whole song, right? I couldn't pick out the chorus. I just couldn't. As far as I know, they don't play this song live anymore. I've never heard it played live. I've seen them a dozen times, we'll say. I don't think I've ever heard them play this live.
Spoiler alert, I saw a Facebook video relatively recently
Oh, God.
that they were doing this.
Okay, so this...
Which is very surprising.
So this song has a video. I don't know if you saw the video. So it's in a warehouse, or it looks like a warehouse to me, I guess. It looks like the same location of the Kid Ego video, which actually was pretty widely played on MTV.
It looks like they just made the video in the
Same day. Not only the same day, the same outfits. And I believe, as far as I can tell, they switched out, like they were just kind of throwing clips in there because if you watch the hand positions on the instruments, they don't match the song that's playing. So I think they just kind of filmed a bunch of stuff that day and like cut it up.
Maybe.
But there's a part in the video where he's singing about how young these girls are and he's tapping on his junk.
That is disgusting.
Okay? He's tapping on his junk. I cannot. This is awful, and I'm angry. That's what I feel.
So, guys, I have to ask you this question. When you're watching a video and the instruments aren't plugged in, does it go up your ass sideways? Because it fucking,
Awful,
like,
yeah.
I don't care how good it is. Like, fuck you.
Yep.
Fuck you. That guitar's not plugged in.
Yeah, awful.
All right, so that's one song
It's
in.
a video. It doesn't matter.
Really? It doesn't what? As a guitar
bothers
guy,
me.
that doesn't bother you?
No.
Wow. No, I can't get into it, man. I know that guitar is not making that sound. Okay.
I believe I wiped this song out of my memory completely. That's what I think happened. So.
All right, listeners, write in. Does it bother you when the instruments aren't plugged into the videos? I mean, I know we're so close and we're already an hour in, but, Nuno, one of his problems was his ego was so big, and that's what separated him from these shredders that I really loved in the days, is he felt like he had to prove himself every second of the solo he was playing. It's like...
That's so Boston.
Yeah, it's like, guy, we get it. You're one of the best guitar players in the whole world. Like, now why don't you mix in some, like, nice melodic stuff that sets up these fucking home runs? Can't just hit a home run and a home run and a home run, because then it just is like too much chocolate. It's like a chocolate cake with chocolate ice cream and chocolate syrup served on a fucking chocolate wafer. It's like, dude, it's too much chocolate. Okay. I'm wound up. And,
I'm so angry
coffee.
too. Oh my God.
And coincidentally enough, the next song is called "Wind Me Up," which this album is doing. I don't love this song, especially the chorus. The lyrics overall feel like a smaller local band wrote them. Another problem was the bridge, and you guys know I love bridges. The bridge was just a bogus carbon copy of the horrible chorus. So you had this horrible bridge set up this even worse chorus, and they're both the same words. It's fucking awful. The solo was that chocolate dessert I was just describing to you. It was just too much. The effects, so many ingredients, I got a cavity. He's great, but I do not like the lead work on this track. Dave, what did you think of the song?
This might have been a better choice to open the album with the crashing rock opening. According to the album sleeve, this song and the next two were produced by the band. Are these drums a drum machine? They sound super stiff and very different than the first track. Go back and compare. Cheesy lyrics. Were the first versions of this song called Blue Balls and then maybe Put Out or Get Out before they got to this final version?
Oh, no.
By the way, look for my next album coming out soon. It will feature hit songs titled Blue Balls and Put Out or Get Out. Great guitar again, a little wah-wah action added in. Even from this first album, Nuno has distinctive style and sound. His note choices and the way he plays are much more complex than many of the other players of the time. Bass guitar is nice and strong here too. Rich, deep, solid sound on that bass.
Interesting. I like the take.
Wow.
Lisa, what did you hear?
I'm going to forget the last song happened and try to just listen to this on its own. This song seems really dated to me. Like it came from years before, and it's a little poppy.
They've probably been playing it since 1985.
Yeah. I like the name of the song, but the chorus just like repeats that kind of over and over again, and I thought that wasn't really creative. I think they could have done a little more than that. I also don't like when they go into there's like a sing-song version of the chorus like a happy pap. I don't know, very poppy. I didn't like that at all. The lyrics are really cheesy. They rhyme too much. They're very forgettable. The guitars during the song are completely lost. All I hear is drums. Now, you said the drums sounded really clean. I think they just were too much in the front. Like, it was just like, that's like all I heard. I couldn't hear during the song, at least the guitars.
That's because they weren't fucking smothered in reverb. So they were actually cutting through the recording.
Yeah. Now, I did like the solo on this song, but let me caveat that. I like the solo on this song because it was very complex, almost like you could tell he's a classically trained guitar player, very complex melody, discordant notes, really, really, really good solo, but it didn't fit this song. And what I wanted was take this solo and put it into a song that fits it, because this is a fantastic solo, but it doesn't belong here. The song just overall is just too poppy. There's no video. It's totally forgettable. This song does appear on the album Demo Graffiti, released in 2013, which is basically an album of their demos and outtakes from 85 to 88. The demo of this song is much cleaner than this. The tempo's a little faster. It might even be a little more poppy, but it's actually better than the version that ended up on the album. So.
Lisa, you talked about that singy part. right? Remember?
yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know what to call it. I mean, I'm a songwriter, and I didn't
Yeah.
know what to call this section, but I
Yeah.
did notice that they do it in almost every single
Almost
song.
every song, yeah.
And they're going to do it in the next song, which we're going to talk
Yep.
about right now, called Kid Ego. And I hated it here as much as I hated it in the last song. So here it is. Again, instantly, way too much reverb. This track is fucking soaking wet. It is disgusting. It is so cheap. The song is decent, but for a hit single, it's not a banger. It's not well written. I don't love this part where it goes, your head is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm just like, oh, I fucking hate this. Oh. And finally, Nuno's solo. There's just way too much effect on this, and it's making it really hard to hear the integral stuff he's doing. Like he wants you to hear it, but you can't. It's just a big old echoey, empty mess of fucking notes. Oh, oof. Dave, what did you think?
I wonder if there's more drum machine drums here. Gary reportedly admits this song made him cringe. It was the second single released from the album. I did watch the video. It's pretty cool. The band playing on stage. Nuno wears a Flesh t-shirt. The band that we talked about, his and Gary's brother were in. The sound mix in the video is very different than the CD version. The guitar solo sounds a little different too. I wonder if they messed with the recording or went back and redid some of it for the video mix. Because it's way different than the CD. Song sounds great. I couldn't find any internet evidence to back this up, but I'd always heard from old interviews that Gary actually started writing this about Nuno when they were in separate bands. Not sure how that went down when they got together into the same band, but I guess a good song's a good song. Nuno is sort of infamous for having somewhat of an attitude.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it went down. Gary told Nuno, and Nuno's like, he worshipped me. Let's do it. So, yeah, I mean, hate is the biggest form of compliment, and Nuno knows that better than anybody. So he was probably very, very flattered when he heard that story. I know I would be. Lisa, what did you think?
I've met Nuno a few times, and he was always a sweetheart to me, just saying.
Yeah, he didn't like me.
Exactly proves my point.
Few people do, though.
So I read the same.
Pretty girls get a pass.
Oh, well, I don't think I was back then, but
Oh, come on, Lisa. You've always been a looker.
thanks, Des.
You can find
All
her
right,
on Maury Povich. No, is it
Yeah,
Maury?
yes,
Is it
Maury Povich,
Okay, so
1992, I think it was.
I mean, I don't know if you want us to push
yeah.
this, but if you'd like to watch Lisa on what was it like heavy metal guys that are like not nice dudes to their girlfriends? What was the episode?
That should have been it because that was really what was going on. No, it was guys that were trying to force their girlfriends to get breast implants.
Even
Yeah.
better than I thought.
Yeah,
Dude, go check this out. Go watch this.
Yeah, it's
Lisa.
available on YouTube. Yeah,
Oh, okay, good. Go watch it. I might watch it again tonight just for fun.
yeah.
Dave,
Long
have you
time
seen
ago.
this?
I've seen a screenshot. I haven't watched the episode.
How can you not have watched this episode? Get on that. Keep going. Sorry.
I'll check it out for the lols.
Okay.
Okay, so I also read the quote from Gary that he actually says this song now makes him cringe. And my comment to that is, how does the first song on this album not make you cringe?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Would disown that real fast.
Yeah. I really like all right, so I think I have a different opinion on this song than you guys do. I like the opening of this song. I like the isolated guitars. I love the lyric gang delivery on the refrain that's like a little way into the song. The lyrics are fun, they're catchy, they're easy to sing, about a guy with a big head. And you're saying it's about Nuno. Now, I had never heard that story before you brought that up, that it was about Nuno, but it makes perfect sense.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, that it definitely could have been. I think it was a good story to tell, definitely a lyrical story that you didn't hear a lot back in the 80s, so I felt like this sort of stood out a little bit. There's a lot of rhyming in this song, but it's actually executed really well. It doesn't ruin the song. And Gary's lyrical delivery is like gunshots, and it makes it better, not cheesy for me. Another singer I think could have ruined this. My favorite part of this song would be like there's this like slippery melody that kind of goes down into minor and back out into major chords throughout like the whole thing. I friggin' love that. I love that the tempo is a little bit slower than the other songs. I like the cowbell. There's some cowbell in there. Nice guitar licks from Nuno through the whole song. For some reason, now maybe you guys can solve this mystery for me. There's a lot of guitar on this song. Like, is this layers of guitars? Is he able to play this live with just one guitar, or does he have to play tracks? Like, well, how does this work?
I'm sure he plays a simplified version. I mean, he can do anything, but I'm sure he plays a simplified version. But all these songs, he's doing multiple guitar tracks.
I feel like he can't be using that many studio tricks. Right?
I'll bet he's got a minimum of like 7 tracks on every song. 7
Yeah.
guitar tracks.
This
on
one
every
is
single
really, this one is really full for me. There's a lot, not in a bad way. I meant for me, and I know you guys didn't really like it, but it's good for me.
song. No, Dave liked it. I'm the only hater in the room.
Okay. So this one has a video, the band again playing on that same warehouse stage, but this video seemed a little more cohesive. They're actually playing the song that you hear. There's a lot of big flying hair and half shirts and bare chests, and we see Gary like swinging from ropes while the guitar solo is playing like over Nuno's head. And, I guess, there's a lot of movement. It's very dynamic and very like energetic, which we mentioned, which I like. And I guess that's why they were all so skinny and could wear those half shirts, because they were all jumping around all the time. I think this song has held up for me. This was one of the memories I had of this album, thankfully, that did come through. So Gary, if you are listening, give yourself some grace. This is still a good song.
Imagine watching that video and then watching like, I don't know, Sex Action or I don't know.
Sex Action was so good.
Sex Action or fucking any of these fucking Bathroom Wall. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. This fucking video is ridiculous. I watched this. It was like, no. This isn't cool. I'm sorry, people from Boston. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. So number 4, watching Waiting. So guys, I'm not even kidding. When this guitar started, it starts with the guitar, the amount of reverb on this track almost made me skip to the next song. Like I literally just rolled my eyes and went, come on, man. And I wish I did, because I hated the song. There are some really, really wonky vocal harmonies going on in this song. I didn't love the guitar solo. He's an amazing player, but this overprocessed solo just does not fit the track. This track is an absolute mess, in my opinion. Like, I feel like when they produced it, the guy like Lisa said, just let a bunch of like mistakes go. Like, there's no way they didn't hear these harmonies were off, and they just let it go on the album. And I'm not going to give it a pass. It fucking sucked. Dave, what you think?
Well, I think a lot of your problem with the reverb, they may have been going for the Van Halen thing.
Oh, they were.
On the old Van Halen records, Edwards' guitar is on one complete side of the stereo spectrum. He's all the way over on one side. And then on the other side, they just have like a reverb, just the reverb of the guitar panned over to the other side. So it's just all reverb. And I feel like maybe that's what they were going for. And that's what's bugging you.
Yeah.
So here's something Extreme likes to do, throw in a little lyrical curveball. We're taking a left turn from songs about fucking and prowling for underage ass. Not singing about cars, but the crucifixion of Jesus. Okie dokie.
Yeah, that fits on this album.
Yeah, these guys, as far as I know, are not preaching or anything. I think
look a little harder into that. You might find something different.
Okay, we can go further into that. It's a pretty song. Also featuring a co-lead vocal from Nuno. Bastard is that good on guitar, and he sings great too. No fair. Son of a bitch, I'm jealous.
Oh my God. Lisa, what did you think of these vocals? Magic?
Oh, no. Nice guitar opening, and then we have this sustained note coming in from Gary, the first thing you hear out of him for this song. And immediately I thought was listening to the wrong album. I thought this was Eddie Vedder. And that kind of that sustained Eddie Vedder note. Like, go back and listen to it again. I'm telling you, it. I know it's a couple years before mainstream would hit for Eddie Vedder, but it is seriously like that is the sound. I couldn't figure out if this was a power ballad or just a slow song. Wasn't really sure. The real problem for me, like you've already brought up, is these layered vocals between Nuno and Gary. Gary's voice starts in and it's shaky, and then the harmonizing comes in and it's just off. The chorus is okay. Knowing how good of a vocalist Nuno is on his own, it makes me angry that the production kind of did this to him, right? Like, I feel like this has to be the production. It has to be that they didn't do enough takes in the studio. I don't know what it is. They layered this wrong. It makes me cringe when I listen to it. I like the sweet chorus when it comes in, the watching, waiting. It makes you feel kind of warm. It's a sweet and lovely and pretty song. Not a huge amount of lyrics in the song. It's actually just a few lines, really. They really stretch that out to make this a long song for how few lyrics are actually in it. I like the guitar solo. It's kind of raw and symphonic to me, a little bit maybe classical. Nice vocal outros towards the end where he kind of plays with the words. I don't even mind the fade ending. They often close their live shows with this as kind of a goodbye to the audience. You can find some live performances where they're doing exactly that on YouTube. It's an okay song for me. I really wish this could have been a really beautiful song if it was produced better, especially those vocals. They're just shaky.
Yeah, I thought that timing was a little rushed too between Gary and Nuno. It felt like Nuno was coming in just too quick. It wasn't overlapping in that good way.
Just
What's interesting
unbalanced.
is starting on this track, the production on the album gets a little bit better. It's almost like somebody, like, I know they probably didn't record it in this, but it just feels like that because starting here, there's not as much reverb on the overall track, and it just kind of comes into focus a little bit. And then there's a couple of songs that are produced very well, like the last song on the album, which sounds like it was recorded in a completely different fucking venue by a completely different band, but we'll get there. Track number 5, Mother, Don't Want to Go to School Today. So this one opens with this strange baby crying thing that makes me extremely uncomfortable. I don't know if it's like from my fucking shattered childhood or, someone trying to smother me in the crib. I'm sure that happened, but yeah, it's creepy. I don't like it. And then it goes into something like Eruption, but not as good, obviously. And Dave, when you put that much reverb on a straight Marshall and crank it up to 10, it sounds good. That's not what this guy was doing, okay? So we get this weird thing. Again, it's not Eruption. Then we get Nuno's best Eddie Van Halen impression. This sounds like Eddie Van Halen playing guitar, and it sounds like Eddie Van Halen's guitar sound. And this reverb guitar sounds fucking great. I don't know why he wasn't using this sound on the whole album. Now, he might say this was a tribute to Eddie Van Halen, so I went out of my way to make it sound like vintage Eddie Van Halen. But the problem is, starting on track 5, this is the guitar sound going forward, for the most part. I hear this now in almost every track going forward. So that's exactly what you said, Dave. Like, there's a good way to do this and a bad way to do this, and we're getting both of them presented on the same record, which blows my fucking mind because I literally love this guitar sound. Nuno plays, and I'll say something else going forward here. Nuno now starts really doing Nuno. I still don't like these guitar solos because this isn't my style of playing. It's not what I'm looking for. But he now starts playing these ridiculously technical guitar solos from this point on. And they sound more crafted. They fit the songs a little bit better. And he's just fucking bringing it. I mean, he's fucking bringing it. I don't love it, but he's bringing it. And finally, the lyrics are just safe, and vanilla. And I fucking hate that. So, Dave, what do you think?
All songs on this album are credited for writing to Gary and Nuno, except for this one, written by Gary, Hal LeBeau, and Peter Hunt, which are the guitar players, the former guitar players with The Dream.
Ooh.
So there exists a version of this song with video recorded by The Dream, uploaded to YouTube by Rockman666. This is before Nuno was even in the band. According to the poster, it would air on Boston-based channel V66.
V66.
Back in the mid-'80s.
Yep.
Gary looks a lot like Vegas magician Chris Angel in this video.
God.
Who's actually got an excellent music video called Don't You Want My Love. Go to YouTube and look that up. It is awesome.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I love it. So this video from The Dream was directed by Scott Calvert, who later went on to direct The Basketball Diaries, and it cost $20,000 to make.
Wow.
There is also another good video on YouTube uploaded by someone else titled Extreme at the Early Years that contains this video and has some old live footage from Extreme. So the video for this album that Extreme made for this album recording was much better looking. It was the 4th single released from the album. And for this version, we start out with a short guitar solo. Holy moly, that is some impressive shredding. The song kicks in. You can definitely hear that Van Halen influence, the way he plays the riff, and the effect choice is very reminiscent of Unchained. Good solo, too. Melodic with a little flash thrown in.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Lisa, what'd you think?
I also hated the baby, though.
Yeah, that was one of my first things I was going to say. This is a big memory song for me, but I didn't remember the baby, and the baby was very confusing to me. Don't like it. It's a hard no. I love Nuno's big guitar intro. I can't tell you how much I love, kind of that big classical, guitar solo kind of stuff. I love it when the song comes in, and there's this, I don't know what to call it, wah-wah, a little like a wah, what do you call that? Wah-wah, on the guitar.
Dave, was
it's
it a wah-wah?
Very 80s. It's not wah-wah, but it's like that
It's like
wah
kind of a
sound.
filter.
Yeah.
Because he plays, but when he's chugging on the low string, and it's sort of that...
Yeah, okay.
That's a flange.
Okay, whatever that is, I friggin' love it. It's so incredibly 80s, and just there's a lot of memory in that for me. I really love that sound.
Yeah, like the jet plane sound.
the jet plane sound. That's what it is.
That's Unchained.
Yeah.
That's 100% Eddie.
I love the isolated vocals from Gary before the drums come in, and the little yah-yah before the chorus, and it's catchy song. When you hear this song live and you see the crowds react to it, it's a really great song. It's fun. The lyrics are a little bit simple and a little bit kind of brainless, but I think for me this is a fun song. This guitar solo is one of my favorites on the album. It's like effortless for him. It's just ridiculous how friggin' good he is. And I still, the isolated vocals over the top is really nice. The video for this song, the official video, now I'm talking about when the album came out,
The album video.
is so much fun, right? Sure. The little kid with the skateboard, he's going to cut school, and you get some shots of the band playing, and, some groupies and all this kind of stuff with the screaming crowd and lots of hair. And then they juxtapose the little boy coming, he sneaks into the backstage, and he gets caught by the security guard, and the band welcomes him in, and he watches the show, and then they bring him home in the tour bus the next day to his screaming mom. That was friggin' great video. So yeah,
Nice.
I loved it.
All right, so that ends side A. If you're listening to the show on vinyl, why don't you flip it over? So, you guys, I like to tell you stupid shit. I did tell the flooding of the Rhode Island complex story, and I told it on the other podcast. I'll just say I destroyed 4 apartments. Let's put it out. Yeah, this was 4 days before Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was traumatic. So about 1 million gallons of water, and it was all my fault. So anyway, so about 3 days ago, Delynn was doing her dishes, my wife. She was at the sink doing the dishes, and I came up behind her and I placed my wiener between her butt cheeks because I like that. But she doesn't like that, and I've been warned. So she reached back and she grabbed my right nut between her pointer finger and her thumb, kind of like that, if you guys can see. And she had it. And she was fucking squeezing it so hard, and she squeezed it until it fucking shot open between her thumb and her finger like a tiddlywink, and it bounced around in my sack 4 times, and I fell to the floor. So there you go. For all you
I
women
miss you,
out there.
Delynn.
Yeah, all you women out there that fucking hate obnoxious guys, my wife is abusing one on the reg. And today I was working in Bellingham, which was about a 35-minute drive from my house, 40-minute drive from my house. And I left, and I got home and I went to the mailbox and I realized I had two identical sets of keys hooked to my fucking my
Oh.
pants. I had taken the handyman or the maintenance guy's keys as well as mine.
Oh my God.
And had to turn around, drive all the way back to Bellingham, and then all the way back home again. So, yeah, it's kind of stupid shit I do on a daily basis. But the flood was really bad. The flood was
That's
really,
really
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go. I told it on the fucking movie podcast, either the last one or the one before, like the big long Des story. It's very funny. So go check it out. All right. Anybody, anything you guys want to discuss? Any news?
Dave had a
Like-
great show with his
Yes.
band, Gypsy Freaks,
Yep.
on New Year's. They played, probably about almost 30 songs, I want to say.
Wow.
Long time.
Yeah, it was like 2 full sets. Really good. Yeah.
Wow.
The sound in the club was primo. Just one of the best I've been in. And yeah.
CotoLowell.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gypsy Freaks. That's Gypsy with a Z. GypsyFreaks.com.
And Dave was ripping Tracy Gunn solos like you would not believe. This man is a true shredder. The truth be told, in the intro to the show, where Dave shreds for all of you. So there you go. Okay, so there we go. Let's move on to side B. It starts off with Teacher's Pet. Band's tight, riffs are crisp, it's funky. But I hate the story of it. I hate the themes of every song on this boring album. Nuno rips some more super technical leads, but they don't grab me the way other shredders have in the past, like Warren D or Delana or just so many others. George Lynch, you name it. You name it. They just don't hit me the same way. It's almost like he's too good. Maybe he's just too good. Maybe I just suck. And this guy is just too fucking good and my brain just can't process what he's doing. So there's my backhanded compliment. Dave, what you think?
And we're back to cock rock.
Oh, yeah.
Great guitar riffing here. Some cowbell too. Ends with the impressive a cappella vocal grouping.
Nice.
That's all I got.
That's
Wow.
fine. That's more than enough. Lisa.
I thought this was a good opening for the second side with a nice guitar intro and some muted cowbell. The lyrics are standard 80s boys fantasy, like Hot for Teacher, sort of. But this is just as inappropriate as the old men chasing young girls. It is the same crime, people. It is just as gross. There are some nice wordplay in the lyrics with some academic words being used as sexual puns that I thought was a little bit creative. But again, a crime. Yeah, it's a catchy riff, but something is wrong for me in the chorus with that like high-pitched woohoo. It feels like fake or false. Obviously another beautiful guitar solo, but this song is missing something for me. The structure of the song for me is a little weird. There's not a lot of defined like chorus, and we haven't mentioned this at all. There's no bridges in any of these songs.
There's no bridges. There's
No
just
bridges.
this weird made-up
Yeah.
thing that they do.
Yeah, which I find very uncomfortable. And I wildly dislike the vocal outro at the end of this song.
Yeah. This song is missing. Go listen to Hot for Teacher. That's what this song is missing. Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Okay, track number 7, Big Boys Don't Cry. Again, I'm not loving the vocal or the lyrics. And this bridge chorus combo, we get a bridge in this song, Lisa. We do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not good. It's soft.
not.
It's soft and it's safe and it's just it's weak. Nuno's solo busts out of the gate like a fucking bottle rocket. Like it feels like someone like he was like, okay, so he was like shredding like and they had like the pause button on, they were like, go, and it just exploded. And I'm saying this in a good way. I'm saying this in a good way. He busts out like a fucking bottle rocket. It's pretty awesome. And again, he is on full display. He is just showing technical fucking shredding with, like Lisa said, a fucking little hint of classical with like Nuno Betancourt. Only the way he can do it. It's all there for you. It's all there for you. If that's what you dig, this is as good as it gets. Nuno Betancourt is a master of playing guitar like Nuno Betancourt. Nobody else plays guitar like that. So there you go. Dave.
Here's some more funk metal. We even get a little bass slapping sticking out. This one has a great chorus. Another impressive guitar solo, of course. And a great high note scream from Gary towards the end, too.
Dave, I have to recant a statement I just made about nobody playing guitar like this, because there actually is somebody that plays guitar like this that is every bit as good as Nuno Bettencourt, in my opinion, but plays this style really fucking good. And if you want to see it for yourself, go to YouTube and type in Switchblade Serenade by Spread Eagle. This is a
Yep.
Boston band, and
Love
the
them.
guitar player is one Paul DiBartolo. And he fucking plays just like this, but he knows how to put the blues, the sleaze, and the rock in with this really like squeaky technical shit, and it's impressive. So check out Switchblade Serenade, but the problem is after you listen to it once, it'll take you 4 or 5 days to stop singing the stupid chorus in your head. Okay?
They played here last month.
Did they?
They did, yeah.
With Tommy Gallo on drums?
I'm not sure who played with them.
Yeah.
Al
Rob.
did that show, remember?
Yeah, it was,
I didn't see the show.
yeah, that was actually Rob DiBartolo and Paul DeLuca and Tommy Gallo, for that matter. All three of them were in one of Boston's first big pop metal bands, which was called Bang, and their song was Summertime. I
Yep.
wish it was summertime. And they parted ways with the singer and added this dude from, I think, New York. And they put together Spread Eagle, and man, that fucking album was kick-ass, and that
It
single
really was.
great. So, sorry. This is the point of the podcast where I am now really hitting that fucking edible I took right when we started is hitting me. I don't know what song we just finished or who's talked about it.
It's my turn.
Okay,
We're
go.
doing number 7, Big Boys Don't Cry.
Okay, sorry.
Nice intro until the vocal doo-doo-doo comes in. Hate that. I do like the drop note in the first line. It's kind of the beginnings of the funk that we'll see in their future work where they kind of bend notes down a bit. I do like that.
Yes.
We keep calling them kind of the funk metal group, but I don't see, like, I know you guys keep saying you see a little funkiness in this. I don't see a lot of funk in this album. I see it in the next album, but
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, but not the way you do in the next album. I like the guitar work behind the verses here. It has a catchy chorus reminiscent of the 50s song, maybe. The lyrics are a little empty, but they're delivered okay. I do, again, like how he bends the notes pretty much through the whole song. It's super short, which is maybe good. Guitar solo is really good. He never misses, even when the songs are sort of empty. You know, there's always a good solo from Nuno. And my note here, of course, is there's somewhat of a bridge after the chorus, which is good in this song. And I would like to have seen more bridge work throughout this album, letting Nuno go a little wilder than he did. The song is just kind of meh for me.
Yeah. I mean, the bridge, yeah, it's not worth talking about. Okay. Track 8, which is Smoke Signals. This is where the album gets dangerous, Lisa. This is where I hear my first cowbell, and everybody knows that cowbells are dangerous, right? So, woo. What can I say really that I haven't already said? I mean, I could literally use the notes from the last song. They'd be exactly the same. It's not my cup of tea. It has strange vocals with extremely basic lyrics. And that ending.
Did you have a memory of this song from
No.
before this listen? No, exactly. This
I
was
didn't
one
have
of those songs that just wasn't there.
Yeah, I didn't have a memory of a lot of what I was hearing on this. And then it had that ending. I don't even know what I can say about that ending. It just, I don't know. Dave, what can you say about that ending?
Which ending?
The ending for Smoke Signals.
Smoke Signals. Okay, well, we got some acoustic blues from Nuno to start. Sounds a lot like Take Your Whiskey Home by Van Halen. Lyrics are all just the text of warning signs. This is either lazy lyric writing or a comment on, I don't like rules, I'm young and rebellious, don't tell me what to do, man.
Oh, man.
Their version of sign, everywhere a sign, I suppose. Take your pick, whether it's, dumb or clever.
Right.
But I don't remember the ending.
Oh, I do.
What does the ending
I have a
sound
note
like?
on it.
Oh, Lisa, you'll tell us
Yeah,
about the
I'll
ending.
tell you about it. Oh, God. Yeah, it
if
was
you
bad.
want to know what this song is missing, go listen to Signs, Everywhere Signs by Tesla. That's what this song is missing. Everything in that song. So, Lisa, go ahead, talk about it, and then bring the ending
So,
home.
like I said, I have no memory of this song existing before this re-listen, but apparently it did. Nice blues opening from Nuno. I'm ready for a blues song now. I'm ready. I'm like, okay, this will be great. A little funky. Nice vocal intro comes in, and the tone of his voice is different from the other songs, which I'm like, okay, good. Finally, there's something different. Until I realized that the lyrics are just a mishmash of meaningless nonsense. Like, they wrote down a whole bunch of things they wanted to put into songs and then couldn't fit them into songs, so they just listed them all in this song all at once. That's what it sounded like to me. Just like meaningless, a blender of meaningless nonsense and puns. If the lyrics were better, I may have liked this song a little better because at least it feels a little different than the rest of the album. Interesting guitar solo. Again, different from the rest of the album. It fits the song because the song is different and he gives us those nice little speedy runs. But what is going on with this ending? There's like this weird chanting. Is it like people chanting underneath the song? What is going on? It was just like out of nowhere. It didn't fit. I have no idea where it came from.
I hated it.
Like in the side
it.
speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hated it.
I heard
Hated
that.
it.
Yeah, terrible. So,
Nice. Lisa, I was with you. I wanted to hear a rock solo, like a rock guitar solo here.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted him to give me his best, like 1979, 80
Right.
Van Halen, something like Running with the Devil. Like just give it to me. Just fucking cut all the effects off, leave the reverb on, turn the Marshall up to 11, and just fucking play me a guitar solo. Like no finger tapping, no crazy Berkeley runs, just fucking rip me. No, we
Yeah.
weren't gonna get it. And
Weren't
and
gonna get it.
that is what, in my opinion, has held Nuno back as a player all these years because it just doesn't appeal to everybody. And he could play that style and mix it with his style so effortlessly, and it would be just that much better. But again, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. I have an asshole. I am an asshole. And my opinion doesn't mean shit. So if you love Nuno, don't be butthurt by this. Track number 9, Flesh and Blood. So this probably has the worst lyrics and chorus on the entire album. I want to eat your body. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Dude, this is like I was writing better shit than this literally when I was like 14. It's so bad. And there's some moments when Nuno and Gary's vocal harmonies again are not lining up. Like they're not harmonies. They're bad. They're out of key. And finally, this was maybe Nuno's best guitar solo on the entire album. In my opinion, he fucking lays back a little bit and just plays some guitar. I mean, it's not anything I'm looking for, but it's a pretty refined, laid back version of what he's doing on the rest of the album. So this is my second favorite solo. I mean, come on, let's get real. Dave.
I don't think we're talking about real cannibalism here. Talking about eating puss.
Fellatio.
I like the backup vocals, and there's a bass solo, which might have been a little unnecessary.
All right. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Sounds like everybody's as bored of this album as. If you didn't notice on this song when I'm like, I could have just used the notes from the last song. I basically did 'cause I just didn't want to write anymore. Lisa.
So the opening of the song is like very early 80s. It reminds me, I want to say like Quiet Riot, something like that. Like, I don't know. And then the guitars drop in and the vocal tone comes in. And then the pre-chorus comes in and ruins everything. Where did the original song go? Because it's gone now. The chorus comes in, the lyric delivery is weird. It's like, I want this to be a hot and sexy song. This is not a hot and sexy song. It is uncomfortable. I don't know if it's just not in Gary's wheelhouse to be sexy at all, but just, no. Bass solo, interesting choice, I think. The drums have been overpowering on this album, right? And I haven't mentioned the bass a lot because really it almost has been just drowned out by the drums. At this song, at least we hear them, but I don't know that it was the right choice in this song to hear them. There is a bridge in this song. It's really weird when the isolated vocals come in. If the song stayed like dirty and gritty and metal like it was in the very, very beginning, it probably would have been a lot better. This song, there's also a burp at the end. Did you hear that? Yeah, that's a hard no for me. Yeah, this song is on Demo Graffiti also, the demo of this song. it is much dirtier and grittier. It is the song that I wanted it to be. So if you haven't heard it, go listen to that version of the song. There's no bass solo. There's a beautiful guitar solo on it. Really, really nice. And on the production of the demo, they turned the bass down a little bit, which I think is a good choice. So
I love that Lisa's like, if it just was different after like the first 3 notes, it would have been a killer song.
yeah, if
Like,
they just
everything
stayed
was
there at
different.
that first like bar, that's all we needed.
It's great. Just change everything.
Just change everything. All right, track number 10. Oh boy, boys. Here we go. Like, the chainsaw's out now, okay? Rock-a-Bye Bye. I'm sorry, I just fucking hate this song, especially the lyrics. It just doesn't do anything for me. And the track is so sterile and strange. And again, I'm sure there's people out there that are going to say I'm crazy. Dude, like, you put this next to a song like You're My Angel by Aerosmith, like what they're shooting for. Like, dude, this is like crazy. This is crazy sterile and weird. And it just makes me uncomfortable to listen to it. I didn't even want to listen to the whole thing. I hated it. Dave, what'd you think?
I loved it.
Oh, God.
What?
Here's the Queen influence. Beautiful music, great vocal arrangement, very reminiscent of what they would bring out on their 3 Sides to Every Story album. Halfway through, changes to a guitar solo, which I would have made a break and made them separate tracks. No shredding there, pure melodic guitar, and it's so good. You can get emotional and feel chills just listening to this. You guys are going to roast me, I guess. But great track for second to last, and the mood gets brought back up with the next track.
Okay, so I'm penalizing the entire album 2 points in protest to your fucking review of that song. Lisa, what did you think? Did it give you chills?
No, I wouldn't know, but I have more of a Dave opinion on this than a Des opinion on
Okay.
this. So I read that this was supposed to be written like a Queen epic song.
Thank you.
And like, I don't hear it.
I do.
Okay, I don't. I like the piano. I don't really like the tone of Gary's voice in the beginning of this song. It's strained for me. Like, it doesn't sound like the Queen vocal, right? He evens out after a while, but like, couldn't they have fixed that in the studio? This is another production failure here, I think. I'm not really sure where they're going with this song lyrically. Was this supposed to be a romantic song about a broken relationship or an actual baby? Like, it's just misplaced. They needed better lyrics, not based on the nursery rhyme. A lot of nursery rhyme on this album, by the way. Was this supposed to be a romantic power ballad? It didn't work for me. It's just unsettled. Then there's like a symphonic part in the middle before the solo, right? There's like a symphonic part, which I think could have been produced a little better. I don't know if they didn't have the full symphony or if some of it was synth or what.
It's all synth.
Yeah, okay. If they used a real symphony, I think it would have been a beautiful addition to the song.
They didn't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
They have. Nuno did a lot of work with he had like some Roland synthesizer or something like that.
Yeah.
And even on the next album, a couple of the songs are just straight out of the box,
Right.
out of his synthesizer.
Okay. Yeah, that didn't totally. I think it would have been better if it was a real symphony. I realize now that we've gotten to this point in the album, there hasn't been a power ballad, right? When all of these albums of the day had a power ballad, we don't really have one on this
No.
album, and this one wasn't one either. So now
No.
I'm getting confused because there isn't one, right?
There isn't one.
They obviously make it up on the next album, the most overplayed ballad of the early 90s, but we have nothing here. And then all of a sudden we get a dead stop in the song, and we now get Nuno's guitar like a movie opening, like a beautiful opening to just can this salvage the song for me? I'm like, oh my God, yes, can this salvage the song? At the time, there were lots of big guitar solo albums, Joe Satriani and Yngwie and Steve Vai and all of that. This should have been a track on Nuno's solo album. It's gorgeous. I loved it. It did not fit. It does not work in this song. It makes me angry that it's the second half of this song. This needed to be pulled out of there and be the opening of Nuno's big studio album or some amazing like space movie or something like that. I thought it was gorgeous.
Yep.
So
Yeah, this didn't sound like five super cool guys singing amazing lyrics like Bohemian Rhapsody. This sounded
No.
like fucking AI, like created a fucking chorus. Like,
Yeah, I
like
don't-
AI, create a chorus.
I don't understand why they are calling this like a Queen epic. It's nothing like that for me.
No, and all this fucking synth shit sounds like stuff I got in my fucking closet downstairs. It's terrible. It's terrible. And the guitar solo, I held back because I thought there was going to be hate mail. I hated this guitar solo. I didn't think it had any feel. I just thought it was as stiff and sterile as the whole song. Okay, sorry. Track 11, Play With Me. We've been here before on this show.
Yeah.
I didn't love this intro. I'm just gonna leave it at that, okay? What is up with this intro? Now, as for the song, with better lyrics in the verses, for example, like the verses in "We Didn't Start the Fire" by Billy Joel, which is very similar. This
Yeah.
could have been like the song, like the one, like you're just like, doesn't matter if I like the rest of the album or not, this is a 100-watt song. But these fucking vocals, kickball, kick, and the way he's singing it, it destroys this song. It just melts it to the ground like a flamethrower. But none of that matters because we are all here for the Nuno Bettencourt signature guitar solo, okay? This is his Eruption. This is Eruption. This is Crossroads by Steve Vai when he does it. This is the signature guitar solo that put Nuno Bettencourt on the map. When checks are signed to Nuno Bettencourt for music, it was because he created and played this guitar solo. This 100-watt guitar solo. It is so fucking good. It is worth the wait. It's one of my favorite Shredder guitar solos in the whole world. And at the very end, the way he wraps it up, it's
Love
fucking
that.
It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. So I'm glad I was able to go out on a high note with this album. I know it sounds like I'm like totally shitting on these guys in this band. No, Extreme, all very, 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 very talented musicians. Nuno Bettencourt, one of the best in the whole world to ever do it. This just isn't my flavor, so just chalk it up to that. Dave.
The first place I heard this was while seeing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I could not believe the guitar I was hearing. It was amazing. I also bought the soundtrack tape right away, which was released about a month before Extreme's debut album. Before the internet, all the info I had to go on was the band's name on the tape sleeve, and I checked all the record stores around me in New Jersey. I could not find their album. So, maybe a fail on the record company's part. The song was their first single off the album and more modernly is also used in Season 4, Episode 1 of Stranger Things. Crazy guitar, huge drums. The lyrics are all names of childhood games. Clever and unusual, but I think it kind of works. Wow, that guitar solo is cool.
Dave, you telling me they didn't have this record at fucking vinyl? What was it? Fucking vintage vinyl in New
Vintage
Jersey?
vinyl, no. Sam Goodies, nope.
Another shout out to
I couldn't
vintage
find
vinyl.
it. Yeah.
We've shouted out vintage vinyl so many times; they don't even exist anymore. They're gonna
Nope.
like open up their doors and be like, I don't know, there was a huge fucking influx. People wanted us back. Lisa, what you think of this song?
Ford's, New Jersey, Ford Ave.
Okay, bring it back. Vintage vinyl.
Well, so supposedly Nuno and Gary wrote this song inspired by Kicks. Did you get that feeling?
No,
I
not at all.
didn't
Not at all. Me
hear
either.
that,
but
but
that's what I read.
I love
I can
Kicks.
kind of see that a little bit.
Yeah. So this is obviously the one that lives in my memories and actually came through, how I remember it back in the day. The mall chase scene in Bill and Ted's wouldn't have been anything without this song. It appeared on the soundtrack. Now, talking about the soundtrack, there was a lot of garbage on that soundtrack other than this song.
Kind of.
Yeah, it really wasn't that great. As good of a movie that was.
It was a little disappointing
Yeah.
on the soundtrack side.
Right, and as music-centric as that movie was, I expected a better soundtrack. So this really was the best song on the soundtrack. You mentioned that it was played in Stranger Things Season 1. The timing is not right on that. Did you realize that? So Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 1, which is when this was played, supposedly in time happened in 1986, and this song
Right, didn't
was
exist
not out
yet.
yet. Yeah, so there
It
was
was a demo.
yeah. So this also appeared on the 2007 rhythm game Guitar Hero Encore Rocks the 80s.
Wow.
This song is a lyrical list of games delivered at high speed in a fun way. I can understand what he's saying, despite the fact that he's speaking very quickly, which is really nice. I bet you this was a difficult performance. He's done it live thousands of times without tripping over his words at all. That's really exceptional to me. That's, pretty great lyrical delivery. For me, this song is the album that I remember.
Yeah.
All of these other, none of my memories fit pretty much except for this song. The guitar work under the song is beautiful. The guitar solo is just out of this world. The classical hat tipping, and you can actually hear some tributes to some classical songs in there. The expressive runs and the screeches. My favorite solo on this album, maybe one of my favorite solos of all time. I love the little guitar spin at the end. I love that. It's a perfect end to this album.
Yeah. Listen to the production of the lead guitar on this song and the production of the lead guitar on every other song on this album.
Yeah.
If you dumped all that effect and reverb on this guitar track that's on these other songs, the solo wouldn't sound like this.
Yeah, it
You'd be
would
missing
ruin it.
notes everywhere.
Yeah.
What makes this so good is that it's so crisp and tight. You hear every single note. Thank God.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, great. So they went out on a super high note. Kix, probably the band I've seen the most times at Narcissus, because I don't know why, but they played there like every other
They
Wednesday.
did play there a lot. Yeah.
They played there a lot. Okay, let's do some favorite songs. You know the fucking rundown. My favorite song, Play With Me. Obviously, it's the best song on the album. The song I would cut would be Rock-a-Bye-Bye because it fucking blows. Dave.
Favorite track is Play With Me. It's the first song I heard from them and still inspires me to go practice my guitar today.
Nice.
I would cut Little Girls because yuck.
Yeah.
And are we doing replacements yet?
I was going to separate it today. It was
Okay.
Feeling finicky.
We'll wait on that one.
okay. Lisa.
My favorite track is Play With Me by far on this album. I'm going to cut the same song you are, Des. I'm going to cut Rockabye, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that solo section off in the end and put Nuno's solo album out in 1990.
I like the move. I
Yes.
like the move. Okay, let's replace a member. I am going to kick Gary Sharon out of Extreme, and I'm going to replace him with
no.
Sammy Hagar. Why not? I think he's better.
God,
There you go. There you go.
Yuck.
The Red Rocket. Dave, what do you got?
These guys are all great musicians, but I'm going to ditch Paul Geary, the drummer, who, by the way, I saw in person one time at the Dockside Restaurant in Malden. I wanted to say hi, but also didn't want to bother him during dinner, so I didn't. He's a good drummer, but let's throw in a Boston rock legend, Joey Kramer from Aerosmith.
Oh, nice.
His funky drum chops are top-notch and could have kicked things into overdrive.
I got fucking epically wrecked at the Dockside. We used to call it the dark side. I'm talking like more cocaine and whiskey than any. I'm lucky I'm alive. Lucky I'm alive. Great night.
Sweet.
Great. The past. So glamorous and gory. Lisa.
So Extreme is the funky guys, right? Supposedly, but I didn't feel a lot of that on this album. So I am replacing Pat Badger and giving us a much funkier bassist, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Sweet. I like it. I like it. All right. So that's it. We did it.
We did it.
All right. I think it
got
was.
there.
I think it was awesome. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail, but whatever. All right, let's do some final thoughts. We'll score it and we'll put this baby to bed. Here's the deal. I know people love this album and they would give it 100 watts. There's plenty of you out there. I get it. No doubt these guys, super talented musicians, but this album was not for me. So my opinion, it is pushing. I had 42.9, but I talked myself out of that score. It's a 39.1. 39.1. And that's a hometown score. 39.1. Dave, what do you think?
I had already liked Extreme when I first heard this album. I think it's good. It shows their potential for some of the great stuff they would do in the future. But I think this album relies a little too heavily on their influences, and they were in danger of being written off as a Van Halen wannabe band. I'm glad they broke out and achieved their own vibe and sound. I don't think it's their best album or best representation of their sound, but it's still pretty good, and it gave them the chance to break out with their next record. Nuno is 100% in the league of top guitar heroes with Edward Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, and Steve Vai. My score is 73.1.
Those guys all had like a few more number one hits on their resume than Nuno Bettencourt, but who's counting? Lisa.
Hey, they got some hits. Come on.
Fucking Randy Rhoads, he said.
So this album didn't hold up for me at all. I don't know what album I was listening to back then. I really feel like I was in a different dimension when I was listening to this album back then, because I have almost no memory really of this album. I'm trying to remember what I was overplaying, because I can remember seeing the cassette in my car just over. So it must have been like Hit Ego and Play With Me and maybe Mother, I Want to Go to School. I don't know, but it's pretty just a blur. There's some great musicians on this album, and that's what makes me a little bit sad, because like I said earlier, I feel like Nuno was not in the right place. The Extreme was not the right place for him at this time. I feel like these musicians were not gelling together the way that they should have. We definitely need to do their second album, because I feel like they changed a lot just in that short time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
I will
it's
cancel this show before I listen to that album.
Really?
I will cancel the show before I listen to
Okay,
that album.
well maybe we won't, but I'll make the statement that I think if anyone out there is basing their whole career on this album, they should listen to the second one and at least give them another chance, because I don't know. Nuno is absolutely exceptional, and it was really hard for me to score this album because I don't want it to be an insult to Nuno. So I would have gone a lot lower had he not been in the band. I really think that his parts in this, even when they didn't fit the song, like even when the solos didn't fit the song, I want to take those solos out and make them into better songs. So my score for this album is based on Nuno's talent and the fact that he was kind of held down in this band when I feel like he could have done a lot better. So 61.1.
61.1. All right, Lisa, will
Yeah.
you please calculate those scores and tell us where this album lands on the Violent Vinyl chart?
Sure. On the Violent Vinyl album chart, Extreme's debut 1989 self-titled album is showing up at number 9 with a total score of 57.77. That puts it right above Kiss Revenge at number 10 and right below Whitesnake's 1987, which sits at number 8.
Man, that Kiss album and this album, whew,
Yeah.
they're like blowing each other in the closet. It's horrible. Okay, sorry. I'm up past my bedtime. Berenstein Bears or Berenstein Bears?
If this album had a better producer, Des, do you think you would have liked it more?
Nope. I don't like the content, man. There are no lyrics on this album. Zero. Like, it's lyrically empty, in my opinion. Okay, so there it is, folks. I hope you had fun with it, if nothing else. I'm sure if you didn't like the album, you probably were laughing with me all the way to the bank. Dave, you've got next week's pick. What album will we be reviewing in 2 weeks?
Well, I'm going with a Boston double shot, and who better than the original Bad Boys from Boston, Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation.
Nice. All right, nice. That's going to be a nice palate cleansing album. A little Joe Perry and some cowhide pants and nice. I love it. All right. Hey, did you ever see that movie? We just reviewed Desperately Seeking Susan. Go check that out. It's everywhere you find podcasts and on YouTube, which is where we're really trying to build that vehicle. We will be back next week with Christine.
Ooh,
the
good choice.
horror flick. Yes, and that was actually a request from a viewer, YouTube, left it in
Good
the comments.
pick.
Yes. So that's it. Till next time, take those albums out of the sleeve and let the music breathe. See you later.